Welcome to the So Much More podcast, where we talk with people in the custom window treatment, soft home furnishings industry, and so much more. I'm your host, Seal DeGuglielmo. My guest on the podcast today is Annette Faber. She is a resident of Greenville, South Carolina. She's a wife, mother to 4 children and 2 grandchildren. Annette's very active in our church as a member of her worship team. I had the pleasure of meeting Annette when the Custom Workroom Conference was in Spartanburg. And it's the first time I had met her in person. So as always, in-person activities such as the conference are such a delight because you get to know people on a different level. We'll talk a little bit about our first chance to meet during the podcast. Annette has such a wonderful open heart, and I knew that from the very first time that I met her. And I knew that from following her on Facebook. I hope that you enjoy hearing from Annette today because I really enjoyed talking with her. Hi, Annette. Thank you so much for joining me today.
I am so excited to be here.
I'm glad you are. I know sometimes it makes people a little bit nervous when I ask, but you and I have been fortunate enough to spend some time together when CWC was in Spartanburg. Your husband met me at the airport, and then I got to spend some time with you, which was wonderful. You introduced me to chicken and waffles for breakfast.
Right.
I had never had that before, and it was outrageously delicious. Truth be told, I haven't had it since, but I would eat it again if I was given the opportunity.
Well, come back, I'll take you back.
All right, thank you. So let's talk a little bit, tell us a little bit about your life. We'll talk about your business in a minute, but tell us about who are the most important people to you and a little bit about you.
So that would be, I'm married, so Steve is my husband, and then I have 4 kids and 2 grandchildren. So those are my people. I'm from a really big family, close family. I'm the oldest of 7.
Okay.
We were not Mormon or Catholic because everybody wants to know.
That's the first guess.
Yes. My daddy both my parents loved babies. And so, there were a lot of us. It's a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Now we're still close. We have these sibling threads on text that go for, days, and they end up to be like the game telephone. So they're hilarious usually. Mm-hmm. So that would be the closest people in my life. Mm-hmm.
I also know, because I got to attend your church with you, that music and your church are very important to you as well.
Yes, very much. So I play with the band, play keyboard and piano with the band at my church. And so they're like a second family. I've been on that worship team for 10 years now. So they really have become very much family and big part of my life. Okay.
So tell us a little bit about your business. How did you get started?
So, when I was pregnant with Kaylee at the surprising age of 40, that was a big surprise. I was teaching heirloom sewing. Mm-hmm. And I was doing heirloom sewing, and I had this little girl after 3 boys, and I was smocking all this stuff. And
yes.
I had 2 friends at church who were also pregnant the same time that I was. Mm-hmm. One of them, this is crazy, a good friend of mine, she and I have the same birthday, and we were due the same day.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, can't plan this stuff. So I realized they were both coming to me saying, hey, can you teach me how to smock? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this one way or the other. So I'm going to organize it. I'm going to get my business license. I'm going to teach classes. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to have, fabric and notions and machine needles and things that I can sell during my classes, which happened at night after the store was closed.
Okay.
So that's how my business started. And then I had decided to go to Martha Pullen School and become a certified heirloom teacher. And I was about to pay my deposit to go to Martha Pullen, and my ex had a job remodeling somebody's kitchen or something. Mm-hmm. And he said to the homeowner, oh, my wife can hang your wallpaper. So I hung the wallpaper, And I came back to him and I said, if you ever volunteered me for that again, I will kill you with my bare hands. It was just horrible.
Oh, she can do that.
Yeah, like hanging wallpaper for myself is one thing, but hanging it for somebody when you don't know if their standard is the same as yours, that was just awful. So a couple weeks later, he comes home. Oh, I told this homeowner you can make her balances. I'm like, okay, great.
Did you not hear me?
Right. So I went out and bought McCall's and Simplicity patterns. I made this lady's balances. By this time, Kaylee is 9 months old. And I have a picture of me sitting at my Bernina sewing machine with Kaylee in my lap working on this woman's balances. So then I went to the local fabric store, and like the Home Deck fabric store, and I asked one of the women that worked there, I said, would you please look at this and tell me if it's okay? Right. And I don't know what to charge for it. And she was very gracious. She said, it looks amazing. She says, and what did you charge? I said, well, I charged her $100 for the balance. She said, you should have charged at least 3 times that.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, we're going to do this again. So I made $1,200 in 2 weeks making balances for this woman. And I was trying to save up money to buy what was then the top of the line Bernina machine.
Yes.
And so I'm like, oh, we're going to do this again. So then instead of going to the Martha Pullen School, I went to CHF Academy. And
good for you.
That was 2006. So then I decided, okay, if I'm going to do this for a business, and I already had the business, the retail license, I want to know what industry standards are, and I want to know that my work is good enough for me to expect people to pay this kind of money for it.
Right.
So I didn't have a plan really.
Right.
But I did intend it to be a business.
And that's what I was just about to say, Annette. More than many other people who started their businesses around the time that you did, you had a sense of it being a business more than many of the rest of us. And I'm speaking absolutely for myself in that. But I love that your value was validated so early on, that she told you that your work was amazing and you should be charging more. Right. There are so many people that devalue what we do and don't give us enough credit and think, it should be cheaper. And she immediately set a standard for you, which I think is just amazing. But I also love that you turned it immediately into, oh, we're going to do this again. And I think part of it, listen, I love that so many of us started because we had a love and a passion for sewing. And clearly you had it to become a smocking instructor. That was the whole heirloom sewing, that was a very specific and passion-driven type of work.
Yes.
But you also really early on recognized the monetary value of it, and I think that's important.
I was the strange kid in high school that I took cake decorating classes, and then I made cakes for all of my friends for their birthdays, but I took pictures of them and I put them in a book so that I would have a portfolio. And
that's amazing.
I learned how to type. I taught private piano lessons in like the 11th, 12th grade. And then I always had in my head, what can I do from home to support myself?
Right. So you always had that entrepreneurial spirit about you. Do any of your siblings or do your parents have that?
No. I don't have. Well, my brother is in business for himself. And he has been for years and years. Okay. My dad was a Baptist preacher, and Mama didn't work until I went to college. And when I went to college, she took a job doing the bookkeeping for a construction company, sent her entire paycheck to pay my tuition. Okay. So I don't know where it came from, but But yeah, it was genetic, I think.
Yeah, you definitely it is a part of you that you want to do that. That's amazing.
It is.
So it's the early stages of your business. where did you get more business? Because I love that you said, we're going to do this again. But as somebody just getting started, you weren't waiting for somebody to come to you. You were determined to go do this some more and make the money. And you had some goals in mind. You wanted to get the new machine. So how did you get more business?
So this lady at this fabric store, I went back to her and I said, hey, I'm going to keep doing this. And so what they did is they had this printed sheet with names and phone numbers of people who sewed.
Yes.
And they weren't allowed to recommend a particular person. They could just give the list.
A printed list. I remember my local fabric store having that too.
Yeah. So, but what they would do is when a customer came in and brought fabric and said, do you know somebody that sews? They would hand them the list and point to my name.
We can't recommend anyone, however.
Right.
Okay.
So that was, I started out being 100% retail workroom. And a lot of the people that are older, like we are, will know the name Jim Shin. Jim Shin was the installer that I don't even know how I got connected with him, but he said he actually built the table that I still have.
Oh, wow.
And he said to me one day in passing, and he probably wouldn't even remember that he said this. He said, he described me to someone else as an up-and-coming workroom that showed a lot of promise. And I held on to that, and I'm like, wow, if this guy thinks I have what it takes to do this, then I must have what it takes to do this.
Right, because he sees so many different things. Wow, what an incredible compliment.
Yeah. So I just thought, okay, he believes in me, so I'm going to believe in me too.
Okay.
So I did. The fabric store just fed me work for the first several years. And then so we started in 2006, just a retail, working out of my house with my Bernina machine and a home serger and all that fun stuff. Jim built me a table, so I did have a table. Then in 2008, my husband and I divorced. So at that point, I started looking for work, like all over. I found a design firm in Greenville that had 5 designers, and their workroom had just come to them and said, my husband has cancer, I can't take any more work.
Okay.
So I got a job working for one of those designers and moved to Greenville.
Okay.
So when I came to Greenville, I had my first ever designer job.
Okay, you had been all retail up until then.
I had been all retail, and I was scared to death of designers. I'm like, oh, they're going to be tough, and they're better than me, and they're above me on the totem pole, and I just had this fear of designers. We had this hardware rep. I don't even remember what company he's with. His name was Cliff Frana. And when I moved to Greenville, he was a younger guy. Cliff gave me a list of names and phone numbers of all of his clients in Greenville. And he told me, he sat down with me and he said, okay, these are the people you probably don't want to deal with.
Oh, wow.
All the rest of them are good people. So at this point, I'm a single mom with 3 kids, and we're hungry. And so I went down Cliff's list and I called every single person. And the ones that I couldn't get in touch with, I literally took an armload of samples and would go to their store or their office or whatever and introduce myself.
Okay.
And that was because my kids were hungry.
You needed to eat. Yeah.
I had to eat. And it was scary, but it wasn't as scary as being on the street.
Yeah, I think that's a case of perspective and comparison. Yeah.
Right. And I was like, I have no choice. That was just my mind. You have no choice. You have to find work. So I kept going and I kept marketing to the designers, that were here.
Right.
So
and how long was it before you started to work with them?
Well, I had that one firm that I had a job with them before I even moved to Greenville.
Right.
So then I picked up more. I picked up another furniture store that had several designers on staff, and I did their stuff. And, when those designers would leave that store, a lot of them stayed with me. The store had a lot of turnover. Mm-hmm. So that went on for a while where, I had work and I was putting myself out there, and I was, I'm from an area where Robin Jackson and I are about the only people in Greenville that are staying visible. Mm-hmm. Most of the workrooms in my area don't want anybody to know who they are, what they're doing.
Isn't that interesting?
It's an old mindset.
Yeah, it definitely is. And yet I still see it.
Yeah. I mean, somebody told me there are 5 workrooms within a 2-mile radius of my house. I know.
And you don't know who they are?
I know 2 of them.
Wow. Mm-hmm. It's so interesting that you say that, because I know of at least a couple of workrooms who are not far from me, who I've introduced myself to and told them, like, there's a great group of workrooms at this WCAA meeting. We share, we help each other out. Some of them, I'm not that close. I'm not that far from the New Jersey border. So I'm also a New Jersey chapter member. And I've gotten more help and more knowledge from those people that I've interacted with because of it. And yet I met up with one woman at Merrill Y. Landis was having a small trade show at one of the local hotels. And I was with a friend of mine who's a workroom. We were so excited to meet her, and we're telling her, oh, you need to come to our meeting. No, I don't share what I do. She was only there to get more information about, what Merrill Y. Landis offers. Mm-hmm. And I thought, but we have a lot to offer. And it is an old mindset. And it still sort of amazes me when I realize I wouldn't still be in business if I hadn't met some of these people and had them to lean on and have them support me through all of this journey. Yeah.
I mean, I think, I don't know that I would still be in business.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if I would or not. I know for a fact that I love the fact that I'm the only person in my city who's out there, screaming and yelling, hey, right. I'm a worker, please come work with me, because it makes it easier for me to market.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's an unusual, and it surprises me now. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I get it, but not now. It surprises me.
Yeah.
So you're a mom with 3 kids, and you're feeding them, and you're feeding them with your own strength and skills. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So tell us about what happened next. Where did your path take you with that?
So I had been doing this for, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years. And I hit a point where the business just wasn't growing. I had capped out. I was making, I don't know, $15,000, $16,000 a year. And my family needed me to have a full-time job. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, I don't know what to do. So I looked at work somewhere. I've got lots of office experience. I did bookkeeping in college. And I'm like, can I get a job somewhere and do both things part-time? Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I had been to Northfield when we did that Northfield thing years ago. Mm-hmm. Actually, Tony Hollingsworth entered my name into a contest, and I won, and Helzer Brothers gave me a scholarship.
Oh, wow.
To go to Northfield.
Okay.
So it was hilarious. Tony called me one day, and she's like, you won. And I'm like, won what?
What did I win?
And I didn't know anything about it until she told me. So we went up. Judy Peters rode up with me. Mm-hmm. Y'all can imagine what a hilarious drive that was. And I met Michelle Williams there. So I don't know, it may have been a couple years, a year or two after that. I picked up my phone one day and I called Michelle and I'm like, hey, my name's Annette. I don't know if you know me. I think I've only met you once. She's like, yeah, I remember you. I said, well, you're a Christian, right? She said, yes, ma'am. I said, well, I need help with my business, and I need you to help me. I can't run my business the way just anybody does because I have a completely different set of values, and I have to run it a different way to align with my values. Mm-hmm. She's like, okay. So this is before Michelle was coaching.
Okay.
And she's like, well, let me think about this. So we got back together, and she's like, I'll charge you this much a month, and, I'll help you. I said, okay, great. Went to Steve, and I said, listen, I don't know where this money's going to come from, but I have to do this until my ship sinks. And once it sinks, we'll give up, and we'll know that I did everything that I could do before
everything you could. Away. Yeah.
I just, I've got all this equipment. And Janelle said to me one day, she said, the most valuable thing that you have is where you are on the learning curve of this business. And that made it really difficult for me to just let go and walk away.
Okay, how so? I think I understand what you're saying, but
I realized how overwhelming it is to learn all the stuff that we know. Okay. And I was like, when I went to CHF Academy, I didn't even know enough to know what my questions would be.
I understand that. Yep.
I mean, it was just, I really, really admire now new people who come into this industry and survive, because it's almost like walking into the ocean and then getting hit with a tidal wave.
Right.
Just all the stuff that you have to know. So when Janelle said that to me, it really resonated. And I'm like, you know what? I did survive the initial tidal wave. Mm-hmm. I'm still standing. Let's see how long I can stay standing. Mm-hmm. So I hired Michelle. That's been 8 years ago now. My business is probably a solid, 5-6 times the size that it was then. Mm-hmm. So now I'm making a good salary every year. I have help. I have really, really great designers. If you do a house search, I work for 4 out of the top 5 in Greenville.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So I'm so glad that we helped. It's been a lot of work, but Michelle has turned this thing around.
Well, and it's interesting too, Annette, because you had a business mindset from the beginning. And you had some bookkeeping skills, which not all of us have. And so many people started this business or a business like this because they had a skill and creativity. Mm-hmm. And that's not enough.
No.
And if you can't handle the other parts of it, then you have to hire somebody, or you hire somebody to teach you what you need to know, like you did with Michelle. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, why would you reinvent the wheel? And
I don't know. I do it all the time, Annette. So if you find an answer to that, please let me know.
Well, I am, and one of the things that God blessed me with is I have never had a problem with going to somebody and saying, hey, I want to learn this. Can you help me?
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't think you need to be humble to do that. And yet you do have to set your own pride aside and say, I don't know how to do this. But to me, the opportunity to learn something from somebody who's good at it or who's better than I am, I think that's a gift.
You cannot put a price tag on it. You just can't. My son said to me the other day, my oldest is he's trying to start his own business, and he had a fence to build, and we were talking about the way he handled the deposit and different things about the job. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you need to just I'll figure it out. He said, you figured it out. I said, no, I did not. I hired a coach.
Yes.
Said, you don't have the time or the money to figure it out on your own when you could listen to somebody else and they can cut all that middle stuff, out. You can just hire somebody who's already done this before and they can tell you what to do.
Exactly.
Game changer.
Yeah. And it's, I guess pride could be some of it. I've also noticed that because so many of us started this because we were DIYers or because we had a budget, but we wanted something a little bit better and we can physically do things ourselves. Not everybody can. We have this hesitation about asking anybody to do anything for us. And I think that's to our detriment because I stink at bookkeeping and I didn't hire anybody for years and years and years. And I finally did. I went, oh, hallelujah, this is perfect. Yeah. Now obviously I still have to understand it, but the day-to-day parts of it, I'm not good at it.
Right.
And it wasn't getting done well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have hired a bookkeeper probably 3 years ago. And it was like, you know what? I can do this, but it's not fun.
Right. Right. And you can be doing more in your workroom, whether it's more marketing to get more work or finishing a job or whatever it is. You're more productive there than you would be if you took the time to do your own bookkeeping.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that's a hard lesson for us to learn because it sounds like too many of us wait such a long time before we do that.
I think we're afraid to spend money.
Yeah.
You know, that monthly thing for the bookkeeper looks like a big number.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If you don't have somebody like Michelle who's looking over your shoulder and who can assure you, okay, it's okay, you can afford to do this.
Yeah.
And this is why, you know, let's look at what your hourly rate is versus what you're going to pay this person. You know, right. The same thing as hiring somebody to clean your house. I can pay somebody $20, $25 an hour to clean my house, or I can do it where if I'm in my workroom, my rate is, 3 times that.
Right. Best money I ever invested was having somebody clean my house. And I'm always working while my house is being cleaned. And I come up from my workroom and I go, look at this, I have a clean house.
Yes.
And I've made money while it was happening. Yeah. So, yeah. But that took me a very, very long time. I can do that myself. I'm capable of it. And it was actually my husband who said, but I pay to have the lawn mowed and you don't blink an eye at that.
Right.
And my statement to him was, but you work so hard, I don't want you spending 2 or 3 hours every weekend mowing the lawn. And he just looked at me. He said, you want to turn that right around? I went, yeah. I see your point. I will hire somebody.
Right. I'll do it right now.
Yeah, but it is something when we are capable of doing things, we don't always think about it. And at first it was, well, why would I spend that money? Well, now I know why, so that I can make more. And I can have a clean house in a shorter amount of time because she's so good at it that she whips through my house in about half the time it would take me to do it.
Yes.
And it's cleaner. So yeah, she is much more efficient at cleaning my house than I am.
It's funny. I think that even that is one of the many, many, many deeply hidden things in our mindset that we have to adjust.
I like the way you said that, though, Annette. It's kind of like this deep-seated thing. Like we have to overcome this feeling like we're supposed to be doing everything ourselves.
Yeah. When,
in fact, we do not need to be.
We don't. Mindset is my biggest struggle. And it just hides and it camouflages itself so many places.
Yes, yes. So that's interesting because you said something about the installer believing in you, so therefore you could believe in yourself. And I think that speaks to so many of us as women. Like we need somebody else to tell us we can do something before we believe it about ourselves. You were already doing it. You were keeping 3 children alive.
Right.
And a roof over your head. And when someone else told you could do it, that was, listen, we all love to have an atta-girl once in a while.
Right.
But why do we need somebody to tell us we can do it for us to believe it?
I know, but I mean,
I do too. I do too. So I don't know why.
Yeah. And so then when I hired Michelle, she was constantly, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this.
So do you see a big difference in your self-confidence?
Oh, I am not even the same person even my friends that are not in this industry have said to me, you are completely different than you were.
I love it.
Beth Hodges said to me at the first conference that Susan did, Beth came up and she put her arm around me and she said to Michelle, she said, "This scared little girl has grown up into a professional businesswoman. You've done a good job."
What a beautiful compliment to both of you.
Yeah.
Because Michelle gave you the information, but you did the work. Mm-hmm. And Michelle supported you, but you did the work.
Yes.
That's beautiful. What a beautiful memory, too. Yeah. Oh, I love it. The sponsors of the So Much More podcast allow me to bring guests to you each week. And without them, I couldn't do it. I'm pleased as the owner of the Curtains and Soft Furnishings Resource Library that I can use the library to help sponsor the podcast as well. The library hosts the industry's largest curated collection of educational resources for the custom home furnishings professional. Membership to the library gives you access to a wealth of downloadable reference materials, videos, live events, as well as a community of support to help you develop your design, sales, and fabrication skills, and to grow or start a business. Join the library today at csfrl.org. The Workroom Channel is the premier online training provider for professional fabrication skills. Go to theworkroomchannel.com to browse the selection of anytime access courses created by industry experts. Watch detailed demonstration videos, download companion materials, and participate in private course discussion boards with your instructor and classmates from around the world. Start your course path today at theworkroomchannel.com. Education, networking, visibility, and industry discounts are just a few of the benefits that are offered to members of the Window Covering Association of America. The WCAA is the only national nonprofit trade association that's dedicated to the window coverings industry and the dealers, decorators, workrooms, designers, and installers that make up our membership. The library is a gold-level sponsor of the WCAA. Join today at WCAA.org. WCAA, where you are never in business alone. Discover Klimaka Studios, where innovation meets exceptional design. Klimaka fabric and wallpaper collections are inspired by the original works of collaborating artists and developed with the understanding of how fabrics are manipulated into exquisite soft home furnishings. Workroom businesses enjoy exclusive access to engineered designs and best trade pricing. From clever layouts to classic linen prints, Klimaka Studios delivers the quality and consistency that your business demands. And Klimaka's reliable, on-time delivery keeps your projects running smoothly. Go to KlimakaStudios.com for swatches and trade account information. Klimaka Studios, for the joy and profit of workrooms. So, Annette, you came close to quitting.
Oh, hundreds of times.
So yeah, that's my question. Did you ever think about quitting? And so, yes, hundreds of times. But yet you still put a line in the sand and you said to Steve, I'm going to commit to spending this money. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure this business works before I walk away from it.
Yes.
And what, on the days that we all want to just say, not anymore, not today, not ever again.
Right.
What made you be so sure you needed to give it that extra push?
I think the flexibility of working from home was part of it. Remembering things that industry heroes had said to me. Michelle had this rope around me. You've seen a picture of somebody that had a donkey and it was sitting and somebody was trying to pull it along. So that was Michelle and me, and she was pulling and refused to give up on me. I had Janelle say, you've got something really, really valuable here with where you are on the learning curve. Mm-hmm. I had Jim who said, to somebody else that, I was promising.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you have people who think that you can do it. And I had all this stuff and I was able to work from home.
Yeah.
I had flexibility. Let's see, my grandson is now 8 years old. He'll be 9 in December. When he was a newborn, his parents were living with me.
Mm-hmm.
And many days, I would be in my workroom with a baby strapped to me, and we were working.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to do that. I know that I could not have done that if I had to get up and leave and go to a job.
Right.
So
and let's just say, for so many of us, that is a huge benefit, and it's why we have chosen to be in this industry, because we could run the business from our home. But that's not an easy thing to do. And being in the location that is also your home means you get requests, and it means you get interrupted, and it means there are expectations. Well, you're home, so you can do this. And it's up to us to set the boundaries. There's no question about it. But like you said, this baby strapped to you, I'm working away. And it wasn't your baby. So it's not like you were 20 years old doing this. So it's a benefit, but it's also part of the struggle.
It is. And I think probably the biggest thing with me is, so I'm a learner. From a very, very young age, I have been like, what is my potential? What could I really do? That is like a driving thing. I am this crazy 56-year-old person who was still taking I'm still taking music lessons at 56. I was the church pianist starting in the 11th grade. So I've been playing for years and years and years, but there's something else to learn.
I agree with you.
And I want to learn it. I want to know, what could I do? What is possible? So the being self-employed thing for me is there's not a ceiling on what I can make. I'm not trapped.
Okay.
This is up to me. How much can I make doing this business?
Okay. I like that attitude. I like that.
It's freedom for me to be in control, and all of us girls want to be in control, right?
Oh yeah, we all know we have control issues. Yeah. We don't say it to our family, but yes, we do.
Right. And it is so fulfilling at where I am in my business now to know that the people that I sew for get published and they're all this stuff, and they feel that my work is good enough for them. Mm-hmm. That is so fulfilling and so satisfying. And to have these people look at my work and say, it's beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that gives me an idea of how you feel about about what success means to you. Is that how you would define success, or do you have another definition?
Well, that's a evolving definition, I think, for me. So my why is because I love to care for people. Mm-hmm. I just want to take care of everybody. And so I see myself as an indispensable part of the design team. And it's fine with me if I'm behind the scenes. That doesn't bother me at all. But whoever I'm behind supporting, I want that person to feel loved and cared for, mm-hmm. and I want them to be successful. I really, honestly, when we lost Beth, I thought, well, when I posted on Facebook, I feel like I lost somebody who loved me from the very first time that I met her. I mean, truly loved me. When I had difficult things going on in my personal life with my mm-hmm. family, Beth would pick up the phone and call me and say, hey, girl, how are you? Mm-hmm. When my third child went to college, I posted on Facebook, oh, my goodness, we paid all these fees to get him in school, and now we got to buy a meal ticket. When I went to college, that was included with
right.
I'm like, what in the world? Beth picks up the phone. She's like, does your son need a computer? She said, I have a tablet that I haven't used. I'm going to send it to him. She gave my child a computer to go to college with. So what I would love, love, love for people to say of me after I'm gone is that I loved everybody that I met. I want people to say about me what we say about Beth.
Yes. And I'm literally like filling up listening to you, Annette, because I think in the scheme of life, what could be a better, first of all, it would be nice for people to say that before you go so that you know that they know they are loved.
Yes.
But is there possibly a greater legacy to leave?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
And I had a conversation recently with someone who is extremely wealthy, who also experienced many of the same things that we all did going through the quarantine and the pandemic. Money made it all easier, and she's well aware of that. But one of the things that she said to me is, if we have learned nothing through all of this, it's how important our loved ones are and how important we are, how important it is that we be kind to one another.
Yeah.
And I thought, there's somebody with all the money in the world, and that's not enough.
Right.
Being kind and loving, it's not what it's about. And we forget it frequently. And I really love that someone like you, who you want that to be your legacy, was still someone who pursued this as a business and not, you can love and care for your clients, but still get paid properly to do that.
Well, and I will say the only reason that I'm getting paid to do it is because of Michelle.
Because she helped you to know that.
I mean, oh my goodness, I did the craziest things, and she has put up with so much over the years. She and I were going somewhere in the car one day, and I said something, and she just turned over and looked at me.
I know that look. Yeah. I've seen it.
How many hundreds of times have I said that to you, and you're just now getting it? And I'm like, well, at least I got it.
Yeah, right. Who's counting the number of times? I got it, didn't I?
Better late than not at all.
But, you and I must be her two biggest challenges. Because we need to learn lessons multiple times.
Yes. I'm a little slow, but I'll get there. So I, in the beginning, I would hire somebody because they needed work when I couldn't even pay myself. She stopped that now.
Because that was a way to care for someone, but you needed to care for yourself first. Yeah.
It was a way to take care of somebody. Yes. And I didn't feel like it was a noble cause for me to only take care of my family.
Gotcha.
It took a lot for me to realize these are the people that I am called to first. I don't know why. I just didn't see that. I came from a long, long line of very generous, caring people.
And that, I think that it almost needs to be redefined. And especially being the child of a pastor, that's many people to care for. And by choosing to be married to him, your mother was also a caregiver, because you can't be a pastor's wife and not also be caring for the whole congregation.
Right.
So that was a part of your DNA. That was a part of your being. But it benefits no one if we give so much of ourselves that we can't take care of ourselves, or we give so much of ourselves to the people outside of our immediate family that our immediate family misses us.
Right.
And that we're not giving to them first. I also think there are seasons of our lives when it's easier to do certain things. When our children are little, and like you said, sitting with Kaylee in your lap in front of a sewing machine, at the end of a day like that, there's not a whole lot left to give to anybody else. But performing in your church and being a part of, because you're an active member of your church, you're not just showing up on Sunday and turning around and going home. That is giving.
Yes.
And there are ways to give that don't necessarily have to come out of our wallets, but can still be generous in a way that helps people. And I think that, again, sometimes we need to be reminded it's not necessarily just about money. It is about time. And even that's a valuable commodity. We only have so much of that every day.
Right. And another thing that Michelle has said hundreds of times that did get through was, if you don't take care of yourself and your family and make some money, then your business is not going to be here. So it is not going to be able to serve other people.
Exactly. And we don't see it that way.
Right.
Without Michelle prodding us a little bit.
No, exactly. We need that person from her planet to speak, things to us that we would never think of.
Yeah, we think we're doing, it's interesting. I was talking to someone the other day about the difference between a commercial workroom and a workroom like yours or mine. In a commercial workroom, if a designer were to change her mind after the product has been delivered and say, oh, I want banding on it, or the product is just about finish. Oh, you know what? We want banding on it. Mm-hmm. In a commercial workroom, they would say, okay, it's X amount of dollars per linear foot. Right. Where do you want it placed? Small workrooms might say, oh, I don't want to lose this designer. Oh, I'll just do it. I'll just add it on. Yeah. So we give away our time and our expertise and don't expect to be paid for it.
Right.
And we didn't do anybody a favor with that.
No.
Because somebody lost. Either that was the time we should have been cooking a healthy meal or spending time with somebody in our family or taking a bath or putting our feet up or reading, or any one of a million things that we did not do and we didn't get paid for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was, again, I do need to be told things more than a few times. It was a different way to hear it that affected me differently.
Yes. Yes. And probably was Michelle that said this too. You are going to make curtains for somebody's second or third $1 million vacation home for free. Mm-hmm. When your child needs, shoes. Mm-hmm. Why would you do that?
Right. Right.
And to realize also, I think another mindset that we struggle with is, but I do this because I love it and it's fun and it's not hard for me.
Right.
And so since it's easy for me, we tend to price things according to our own mindset.
Exactly. And our own budgets.
Yeah. And I am not working for me. Mm-hmm. These people live in a completely different world than I'll ever be part of.
Yes.
But the fact is, they cannot do it for themselves, or they don't have time to do it for themselves.
Exactly.
And they want to pay somebody to have it done. If I want to go out and make curtains for my pastor because I love him and I want to just show him my appreciation in that way, and he says, oh, no, you can't do that because it just makes me uncomfortable for you to do something for me that's free. He's not allowing me to love on him.
Right.
I need to allow people to bless me by providing me work. And that old joke of there was a flood and God sent a boat and then he sent something else and then he sent a helicopter, and the person sitting on the roof of their house and they're going, Lord, I need you to rescue me. And he's like, well, I sent 3 different modes of rescue and you didn't accept any of them. Mm-hmm. What would you like for me to do now?
Right.
When God sends provision my way, I need to recognize that I am just a part of the food chain, and the people above me really need and appreciate what I do. And I'm valuable because I don't want to break the chain.
Right. It's interesting. I know we're kind of making fun of our own selves about not getting some of the messages, but it is interesting sometimes when you hear something a different way. And I've talked about this on the podcast before. It was in Michelle's Pricing Without Emotion class that we talked about, do you charge a consultation fee? Do you charge a design fee? Well, I wasn't a designer. I was a workroom, so why would I charge a design fee? Right. And she kindly discussed how that affects the whole industry and how it hurts other people. And anybody who's been to a Pricing Without Emotion class knows that without emotion part only applies to doing your pricing, not to the class itself. I literally started to cry because I was like, oh my God, I've been doing this wrong. I've been affecting designers and their income, and it was not my intention. Mine was, I'm not a designer. I can't charge for that. But I was doing that. Yes. And so I should have been paid for it. And the hours it took to find the fabric and draw out the design and all the things that I now don't do because I know that's not my strength, I was still doing it. I just wasn't getting paid for it.
Right, right. And I love and appreciate my designers. So I'm going to protect them. So if somebody comes to me and they want to cut out the middleman, they're going to have to pay. Just like I'm not going to be the middleman. You can't get me for free or cheap.
You will pay for those services. And you're right. Now that I am only to the trade, I just refer people to my interior designers, and I don't even attempt to do that work anymore. It's not what I do well.
I'm like, tell me what you like, and I can match you to one of the people that I work with.
Exactly. So Annette, what would you say has been your greatest success in your business?
Probably the particular designers that I work for. These are people that do this full time. They have serious businesses. They're very accomplished, high-end designers. They're organized. They have their stuff together. I feel like being able to work at that level. So I took probably 4 years ago, I got a new designer, and she said to me, I don't mean to be offensive, but you're going to find out that you've never really worked for a designer before me. And
it's a pretty strong statement.
It was. We completely revamped my business. I came out with, my husband designed brand new work orders. We changed a lot of processes, completely changed my business. Everything about it was up-leveled working for this designer. And she was right. Not that I didn't work for other people who do really, really great work, but the business side of it was not in place.
Okay.
And so things that we had been working on, Michelle and I had been working on, now all these things were showing up to me in a different way. I could see why what Michelle was saying was true. And I think being able to go through that, to survive that, I had a year that I had one mistake at install, an entire year with no installs except for one mistake.
That's impressive.
Yeah. And I mean, I haven't done it since, but we did do it that year. And it was because of this designer and her demand on me, and Michelle pushing me up to reach.
So that you could meet those demands.
So that we could meet it. And so I feel like now I'm not afraid for anybody, any designer that walks through my door. I'm not afraid that I'm not good enough for them.
Oh, good. Oh, I love hearing that, Annette.
Well, I think that's probably my biggest accomplishment. And besides the fact that, again, the self-confidence that I have gained just from hearing Michelle in my head nonstop is incredible. And it has affected every single aspect of my life.
It's hard for it not to. When you start to realize what you can accomplish in your business, it does make you think about what you can accomplish outside of it as well.
It is.
So you have had some significant challenges being a single mom with 3 kids and then having another child again at 40. Those are all some pretty big challenges. What would you say has been the biggest challenge for you?
I think everybody knows that Kaylee struggles with just debilitating anxiety. And so another thing that has been great about my business being from home, and I have a dedicated, nice, big workroom space at home, but it is based at home, is the fact that I've been able to go to doctor's appointments and counseling appointments and all these different things. But it has been a struggle. There have been times where I just didn't get anything done because we were dealing with anxiety or PTSD episodes, or we were going to counselors, or we going to a doctor, we were doing something else. So at least I didn't lose my job. But there have been some really, really long, tough months in being able to balance everything.
Right. I think, Annette, that I've had a few guests that I've interviewed who have talked about their own anxiety and how it has affected them. And when someone we love, it was interesting because when I interviewed Sarah O'Neill and she talked about it, someone reached out to me and said, I understand my daughter better because of that interview. And living with someone who suffers from extreme anxiety is a challenge in and of itself. And you, as a mom, I'm sure you tend to think that this is Kaylee's challenge, but it does affect the whole family. It does affect you. It affects your business. And again, it goes back to, we are so fortunate to be able to run our businesses from our home. But I've also heard people say that have other types of jobs, I don't have to think about my home life that much when I'm at work. I'm focused on work. It's not in front of me. Now, yours is a whole different story because you'd still have to be trying to arrange visits, doctor's visits, counseling visits, and all that. But we are blessed to be able to work around those things. So if you spend 4 hours out of the house, you can work 4 hours at night.
Right.
You work in an office building, you cannot go to the office building 4 hours and your boss can fire you.
Yeah. Well, and I wouldn't have been able to hold down a job at all because for part of 2 school years for her, I would get a call every single day. I
remember you telling me that, yeah.
She's hiding in the bathroom when you would come over here. I mean, every single day.
Right.
I would end up going to school. I could either talk her into staying or she'd come back home with me. And I just could not have kept a job. I would not have kept a job.
But I also think, Annette, it speaks to your strength because you could have quit. You could have said, you know what, I can't manage this business and take care of this. And maybe not having the income wasn't an option, but running a business is a whole lot harder than having a job.
It is.
And it requires a great deal more, but you have the flexibility that you wouldn't have with a job.
Yeah. So,
not everybody's strong enough to do that. It speaks volumes about how strong you are.
Well, you know what? I think that women do what is put in front of them to be done.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you there.
I mean, I never felt I had a choice.
I do think that's the difference.
And you've heard people say, if we took all of our troubles and put them in paper bags and then just randomly mixed them up and you pick the bag, you'd probably pick up your own.
Yeah.
There are so many people that have worse things than I have to deal with. And it's not been easy. It's been difficult. There've been years of very, very hard. And I have also, the flip side of that is that my business was the place where I could go and I could control things.
Yes.
And I was in charge and I knew what to do.
Right.
And Michelle said to me one day, she said, sometimes God gives us something to pour into so that we don't break.
Yeah.
And that has been, my business has been my escape. And I think that's part of why it's grown. Last year, my bookkeeper said to me at the end of 2019, from 2018 to 2019, my business grew 55% in
That's incredible.
Year. So, pouring into that as my outlet has paid off. But yeah, it's been hard.
Yeah. And it also is a reminder that I know if someone is friends with you on Facebook, they have been aware of of Kaylee's struggles, but you don't always know what someone else is going through.
No.
And a designer might come through your door, and there you are with your workroom organized and everything running smoothly. And you're like that duck on the pond where the feet are just going as fast as they can under the surface just to keep yourself up there. And it's a good reminder that we don't always know what everybody else is going through.
Right.
And maybe to be kind.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. You know, I saw a lady years ago. I saw a lady in a grocery store. And at the time, I was still going to a super conservative little Baptist church. And this lady had tattoos all over her. And she just didn't look like the people in my church. And I passed her and I thought, I wonder if she's hurting.
Mm-hmm. Like something just made you think of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it was the thing. I was going through a divorce and, you know, things were messy and yucky. And I was like, everybody has something.
Yes.
You know, and I really wish that, like, right now, with all of the chaos and the crap that's just flying around our country, and then the mask issue, do you wear a mask, do you not wear a mask? It's not a big deal. It's just, you know, we just need to look beyond that. There are people who are really, really hurting because of this. And their strong opinions came from just as valid a place as our strong opinions came from. And we just need to remember that.
Yeah, that is a good reminder. And also that kindness can go such a long way. Like you said, knowing that you are loved unequivocally right from the start from someone like Beth, it is... that's a gift.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And if we can carry that on, I mean, you know, Beth left that amazing legacy, but if we can continue that
would be amazing.
I mean,
for sure.
That's another whole level of Beth's legacy on top of what he did.
Absolutely. I agree. So I want to ask you've been really transparent about the fact that Michelle has been such a huge bonus to your life and your business. And of course, Michelle's a sponsor of the podcast, and I'll put a link to Scarlet Thread Consulting. I also do work with Michelle. So none of that's a surprise to anybody who's listening.
Right.
Are you a big book reader? Do you read any business books? Name one or two that have made an impact for you.
I have just finished Overcoming Under-Earning.
Oh, I have not heard about this one.
Oh, my goodness. Well, Michelle recommended it from, you know, like the beginning of time. But I connected on Facebook with a designer up north, and she said something about following Barbara Stanny. And so I downloaded it on Audible. But what I did is I listened with a notebook and a pen. So I listened and I took notes.
Yeah.
And I had some major breakthroughs with my mindset.
Okay.
Working through that book. So I'm going to go through it again. But I read business books and listen to podcasts like it's an addiction.
Okay.
So
but you said you like to learn and see what are you capable of? What can you achieve?
Right. And I think that's a curse and a blessing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Always pushing myself, and I'm always trying to reach the next thing. And it's almost like a little scratch off card. I'm like,
right. Okay, check it off the list.
Check it off the list. You know, let's do this. Let's do all the things. And it's really hard to relax.
Yes, that is very true.
All the things person.
Yeah. Sometimes even when I'm reading a book that I really enjoy, a business book, I'm thinking about, all right, when I fabricate that panel, what, like it just never shuts off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't ask this question all that often, but you let me know you have a great answer. So I'm going to ask it. What is the strangest thing you've ever made? I can't wait to hear this.
We did the ceiling. We did a fabric ceiling in a frozen yogurt store.
Wow.
And I got this job because a contractor friend that goes to my church was doing the build outs for the store. And two of my boys have worked with this man over the years, and he called me, or he gave the owner my name. The owner wanted this fabric ceiling, and it was like 3 different pieces of geometrically shaped, different color fabric. Mm-hmm. And I ended up, my son, who is now an installer, but at the time he was not, he was in high school. He installed it, and it was just crazy. And once we got it finished, I never went back into that store. My Kaylee was like, "Can we go to the yogurt?" I'm like, "No,
no, we're staying away."
If anything is wrong with that ceiling, I don't
want to know.
Yes, never want to touch it again.
Oh my goodness! So was it like the fabric swooping down, or?
No, because we got it done. So what we did is we put, oh my goodness, my mind just went blank. But I had Laurie Medford helped me with, kind of talked me through how to install it. So we put these little like pockets in one side, mm-hmm. and we ran cables through that.
Okay.
And anchored it to the walls, so it stretched mm-hmm. across the top of this restaurant. And the fire marshal came in, and it was kind of sagging. It would open up around a sprinkler head, and then mm-hmm. it would sag a little bit. It was looked amazing.
Oh, I bet.
The fire marshal came in, and he's like, "Nope, that fabric cannot hang below those sprinkler heads." And I'm like, "Somebody please shoot me."
Seriously.
So my son said, "Let's just roll it over on the sides."
Okay.
So we did, and it tightened up, and the fire marshal came back, and he's like, "Okay, it's fine."
All right. Now. Okay.
I don't even think I have pictures of it. I have a picture.
You wanted to never think about it again.
I will never for any amount of money do something like that again.
Oh my goodness. All right. So do you use much technology in your workroom?
I use my phone and my Mac mm-hmm. here. I use I don't know if you'd consider this technology, but I use a laser square.
Sure. Yeah.
A lot.
Okay.
To cut linings and different things, we use mm-hmm. that laser square, Roman shades. I bought an iPad after I took your class at the conference with every intention of having time to learn how
to get you on that.
You do need to get me on that. Yeah. So my goal when Michelle and I started working was for me to just be able to work 40 hours a week, every week throughout the year.
Okay.
So we hit that 2.5 years ago. So when COVID hit and everybody shut down, we were booked through the end of May.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. My business has not been affected at all.
That's wonderful. I love hearing that.
Yeah. So I have not had time to learn my iPad stuff, but I have it.
We'll find it. We'll find that.
We'll get there.
What 3 items could you not live without?
Michelle. Could not do my business without Michelle at all. She would say that I could, but not yet. My table, and I know that every time I do fix iron has to go back into the iron hospital.
Oh, that is not a happy day, is it?
It's painful.
Yeah.
I have 2. I have a backup mm-hmm. And a regular one, because if we have to pull out that home iron and a long extension cord, it's not a good, It's not a good day. It turns into one of those days where Ann Johnson says, "Just walk away."
Yeah, 3 strikes and you're out.
Yeah.
Annette, what do you think you do extremely well?
I think that, like, the brand, I guess, of my business is how much I care and how involved I get with my clients. I don't mm-hmm. think anybody can love my clients the way that I do. And I feel like they know that. I hope that they know that.
Okay.
I try to go above and beyond.
I love that. What do you not do so well?
Draft patterns. Just not good at it at all.
Okay. Yeah, that's not really one of my strong points either.
I took the class, but I just would rather not have to do that.
Okay. What about you would surprise people?
I don't know. This one's hard. I mean, people know that I play with the band. I asked my daughter the other day, and she's like, well, you look a whole lot younger than you are. I'm like, okay, I like that.
That's very true. That's very true. Because I know how old you are, but when you said your age, I'm like, no, that can't be right. Yeah, it can't be right.
Yeah. I have a fun thing about me that a lot of people don't know, and that is that I had an in-person, face-to-face conversation with Madonna one time.
Get out of here. How did that happen?
So my cousin was living right outside of LA, and she had Ethan Allen come in and quote her to do balances in her house. Mm-hmm. And she was like, ain't happening. This is before I started doing windows.
Okay.
She said, that ain't happening. I can fly my cousin out here, ship her machine out here, and she can do them for cheaper than that. So she did. She packed up my machine and my serger. We shipped them to her house. I went out for 10 days. Day one, she picked me up from the airport, and she's like, I'm going to take you to Rodeo Drive. Just, you have to go to Rodeo Drive. We're in the Ralph Lauren store looking at a sale table, and there's this lady, and she's pregnant, and she just looked like, housewife to me. And so I start talking to her, and we start talking about, she has a 2-year-old that's about to turn 3, and, I had my first 2 were older, but I guess I had a 4-year-old at the time. Mm-hmm. We're just talking. I didn't know any difference. Actually showed her. I had this picture of my youngest son where he was completely naked, but he was walking away and looking over his shoulder, and his little butt was white and the rest of him was brown. Mm-hmm. The old Copper Tone ad. Yeah. I had a picture of him like that, and I pulled it out and showed it to her, and we were talking.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't know who she was. I had no clue who she was. Mm-hmm. So we get in the elevator, and my cousin is like, oh, I said, what? She said, that was Madonna. I said, who was Madonna? She said, please don't tell me that you have lived so far under a rock that you don't know who Madonna is. I said, no, I know who she is. What are you talking about? She said, you were talking to Madonna.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious.
I mean, she was as nice as she could be. She didn't use one cuss word the whole 10 minutes that we talked. We just had a great conversation. Oh, and I said to her, she said that she was so glad that she was about to be through the terrible 2s. Mm-hmm. I said to her, oh, honey, 4 is twice as bad as 2. I'm not there yet.
So somewhere Madonna was quoting you later, like, oh yeah, this lady told me 4 is so much worse. Yes. Oh, I love that story. That is fantastic.
It's fun. It's probably my most fun story.
So I am going to put a link. Do you have a separate Facebook account for your business? Do you have a website?
I do.
Okay.
I have a great website, Kaylee'sCreations.com, and Facebook, Kaylee's Creations. And then I think my girls may have deleted one of the Instagram accounts. I think it's AW Faber.
Okay, I'll take a look and put links to everything.
Okay.
So the last question is, what advice would you have for someone who's new in the business or someone who's been in business for a while?
Hire a coach. Find somebody or a mentor. Mm-hmm. Find somebody who can help you avoid the potholes, and don't, it's a really, really hard lesson to learn that a mistake is not a failure.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
You've got to know that. You've just got to know that, and don't give up on yourself.
I think that is fantastic advice. Annette, I have so looked forward to having this opportunity to talk with you. I'm so glad we got to do it. I'm sorry that it's over.
I know.
I just enjoyed this so much. So thank you for saying yes.
I wanted to be on the podcast for a couple of years.
And I thought that I had already asked you, and I keep a list of people, and the one day I was looking, I'm like, where is Annette's name, and what did she say to me when I asked her? I'm like, oh no, I've never asked her.
Well,
I'm so grateful that you said yes.
Yes. I'm thrilled to have been able to be a guest.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I so thoroughly enjoyed getting to talk with Annette again. I was so fortunate to spend a few hours with her before CWC started when it was in Spartanburg. She has always taught me lessons. I don't think she realizes it, but again, I learned from her today. And I love how Annette has taken the lessons she's learned from Michelle, from Janelle, from so many other people, and used it to grow personally and professionally. And I'm just so impressed by her energy for growth and her desire to better herself. I think it's just admirable, and I love that about her. So I'm so grateful to Annette for saying yes to be on the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day.